In a previous video, we talked about a game where we had Alice and Bob both choosing between two movies. So we had Alice and Bob, and they were choosing between going to see a sports movie or a comedy. And Alice had a slight preference for the sports movies, and Bob had a slight preference for the comedies, but importantly, they wanted to go see the movies together. And we discussed how we could represent this using two matrices. So matrix A with numbers 3, 1, 0, 2, and a matrix B with numbers 2, 1, 0, 3. Where the rows are essentially chosen by Alice and the columns are chosen by Bob, and the outcomes are given by the separate matrices. What we're going to do here is give a formal definition of what a normal form game is. And so to do that, we have a formal definition of a normal form game. And a normal form game consists of three things. The first is a finite set of n players. And so in our case, that's Alice and Bob. That's our finite set of n players, where n is 2. The other thing we have in our definition is action sets for every players. So A1, A2, up until AN, where these A's are sets of possible actions. And so in our particular case, we have A1 is this set here, and A2 is also this set here. So both players have the same action set, which is either to go see a sports movie or a comedy. And then the final thing we have are payoff functions. So for every player I, that map the cross product of these action spaces to some real number. So in other words, for every player, we have a function that takes elements of these action sets and gives them a score. And in our particular case, that is these two matrices. Because if we take any two elements of A1, A1 is equal to this set. So if we take the first element of A1, we're in the first row. And if we take the second element of A1, we're in the second row. So this is S, this is C. And if we take elements of A2, A2 is the same set, but it just refers to the columns. And then we have U1, which is given by A, and U2, which is given by B. And so what this is saying is we need, for all possible choices made by all individuals, we need to be able to give to any given player some real number R. And that's what this is. So having this formal definition of a normal form game is very useful, and it's important at times where games might not necessarily look how we're used to seeing them, to remind ourselves what are our n players, what are our action sets, and what are our utility functions. But in the case of a two-player normal form game, we'll always have two matrices, and so n will be 2. The action sets, there'll be 2 of them, and one of them will correspond to rows. So if A1 had more than 2 elements, then we'd have more rows. And if A2 had more than 2 elements, we'd have more columns. And then the matrices just give us the values directly.